The thing I'd like to share with you today is the idea that we need to get out of our heads. We need to get out of our heads and get into the world. And what I mean by that is that we need to find a way of just letting our thoughts go. If we can let our thoughts go, we're going to find a whole new life. So getting out of our head, by that I don't mean what most people usually mean by getting out of our heads, which is taking drugs or getting drunk, which is the way that most people attempt to feel better. You know, they're not enjoying their life too good, so they want to get out of their heads so they don't think about their lives anymore. But what I'm suggesting here is that we get out of our heads and we get into life, that we enjoy the life that we're leading. And we can do that by understanding that it's getting lost in our thinking, getting lost in our heads, where all our troubles begin. So if we get all caught up in our thinking, get all caught up in our heads, that's where the problems really begin, because that's where we get lost. So we're literally getting lost in our heads. We're literally getting lost in thought. Now this happens to all of us. It can happen to anyone, because we're thinking beings. You know, we're thinking all the time, but our thinking is far more likely to slow down and get quiet when we start to see that we're the ones doing the thinking. That it looks like that all this bad stuff, all the stuff that we're not enjoying, all the bits we don't like, it feels like that's coming from the outside. It's coming from other people. It's coming from our circumstances. It's coming from our relatives. It's coming from our friends. It's coming from our enemies. But it's not really coming from any of those things. It's our response to the world. It's our response to our relatives. It's our response to our friends, enemies, and our circumstances that make us feel the way we feel. So if we come back to the idea of getting out of our heads and into the world, I mean, stop taking the world so personally. If we could just stop taking the world so personally and so seriously, we'd find a much happier life. We'd find that things just started running more smoothly, because the things that used to bother us, the people that used to bother us, if we realize that it's our response to them, and everyone knows this, if you find yourself habitually responding in a negative way to certain situations, that's all it is. It's just thought. But when we start looking outside of ourselves and realizing that what we're actually experiencing is coming from inside, that's where all the answers lie. So if we get out of our heads and into the world, we start seeing a more beautiful world. We start seeing more beautiful relationships. We start seeing the innocence in people. We start seeing that everyone is creating reality in the same way, and therefore everyone's suffering in the same way. And so when we fall out with somebody, all we need to remember is that that's coming from us. It's our response to them. It's our response to what they're saying, to the way they're being. Now, when we're in our best space, when we're in a good mood, a high level of consciousness, we know that our response is more positive. We deal with things more lightly. We don't take things so personally or so seriously. And so there's a guidance system. And our guidance system is our feelings. While we're all caught up inside our heads, thinking that the world is personal to us, it's mean to us, it's punishing us, while we're thinking those thoughts, while we're creating that kind of reality, we're left with a feeling state that we don't like living with. And so it's easy to look outside and point the finger towards somebody else. But the beauty of this is really understanding that we create our own reality. That when we move from taking the world personally and so seriously, and move towards letting things go, letting thoughts go, being more relaxed about what other people have said and done to us. Starting to forgive others. Forgiving them not for their actions maybe, but forgiving them for being human, forgiving them for doing the best they can with their feelings, with their mood level, with their level of consciousness. Because that's all we're doing. We're creating our reality moment to moment, using the power of thought. And the deeper that we can understand that, the deeper we can move, getting outside our heads and into the world, and simply enjoying our lives.